Everybody, and welcome to Safe Practice learning video. So we're going to be going through everything to do with safe practice. Okay, so this table is really important. It's going to allow you to separate safe practice into two different sections. So we've got preparation for performance and during performance. So safe practice preparing for performance and safe practice during performance. So under preparing for the performance, we have and need to know about a warm-up, a cool-down, nutrition and hydration. And safe practice during a performance, we need to know about safe execution, so executing moves safely, and appropriate dance wear, including footwear, hairstyles, absence of jewellery, etc. Okay, so we're going to start with the process first. So what you are going to be preparing. So what you need to know about a warm-up. You need to know the different stages of an effective warm-up and to give examples of warm-up activities. To know the importance of warming up, to know why we need to warm up, and to know what changes occur in the body during and after a warm-up. Okay, so let's get started. So you will need to write in your book a subheading of warming up right now. So what are the stages of a warm-up? And then in that star we have how many stages of a warm-up are there. So if you have a think about your practical classes, what is the breakdown and what is the contents of a warm-up? What do you do? And these are in 4 stages. So we have a pulse raiser, joint mobilization, stretching, and core strengthening. Okay, and for each 4 of these stages of a warm-up, you need to be able to describe a particular activity. So for example, a pulse raiser would be something like a jog or a run on the spot or some like jumping jacks, for example. Then once you've done that, so that's stage 1, you'd moved on to stage 2 of a warm-up, which is joint mobilization. So simply moving the different joints in the body, and that could be something like head circles or shoulder rolls. And I always think about it as moving down the body. So start up with the head, so getting the neck nice and warm with like head circles, and then move down to each joint, so make sure that you've mobilized all the joints on the body. Third stage of the warm-up is stretching, so you'll need to again stretch all the muscles in the body, so that might be a pike stretch, a straddle stretch, lots of different stretches, and don't forget like the arm stretches, neck stretches. Again, you can work your way down from the head to the toes, making sure you've stretched everything. And then stage 4 is core or strengthening. So that might include sit-ups, plank, press-ups, for example. Okay, so why do we need to warm up? So you need to warm up to raise the heart rate. So this is also a change in the body. You are raising the pulse, so you're getting the blood pumping around the body. You are increasing your body temperature to make sure that all of the muscles are warm. If they're cold, they're normally tighter and therefore can't stretch. But when your body's warm, your muscles become more elastic and therefore you have more mobility in the muscles and more flexibility. Increasing blood flow, so you want the blood to flow everywhere in your body to make sure that your whole body is nice and warm and ready for exercise. You want to mentally prepare. So this is kind of a sneaky one that you don't think about when you think about warm-up. You think about your body, but actually your warm-up is also engaging your brain and getting your brain ready to take part in physical activity. You also want to warm up to reduce injury. So like I said earlier, if the muscles are cold, if the joints are cold, you're more likely to get injured. And you want to increase the joint movement, so you want to make sure the joints are all lubricated and nice and warm, and that comes from doing an effective warm-up. Okay, let's move on to cool down now. So to know the different stages of an effective cool down and to give examples of a cool down. So exactly the same as what you need to know for a warm-up, you need to know for a cool down. So you need to know the importance of a cool down, why we're doing a cool down, and to know what changes occur in the body. Okay, so what are the stages of the cool down? Have a think of a practical class that you've taken part in, and have a think of what is in a cool down. What do you do? Okay, so stage one, you want to decrease the pulse. So this can be something as simple as walking around the room. Okay, so you can imagine just coming from a sweaty, active, hard, intense dance class, and you want to cool down gradually. You can't go from dancing at 100 to then stopping and being at a 0. We need to gradually decrease the pulse. So that might be walking around the room. Remobilizing the joints. So you want to give the joints that final stretch, that final movement to make sure that there are no niggles within the joints. Okay, you also want to make sure that you are fully stretched. This stretching and breathing is going to allow the lactic acid to be removed from your body, and it's going to make sure that all of the muscles are fully stretched out, like I said, removing that lactic acid. So what changes occur in the body in a cool down? So your body temperature will gradually decrease. If you didn't do a cool down, your body temperature is going to go from really hot to really cold very quickly. However, the point of a cool down is that you smooth that transition, so it gradually decreases that body temperature. Same thing, your heart rate is pumping really fast, getting the blood around the body, your breathing rate is high, so you want to gradually decrease all of this. And like I said, with the stretches, removes the waste products from your muscles, such as lactic acid, which can build up when you're dancing. Why do we cool down? So heart rate and breathing rate return to the resting levels. So we need to make sure that our body is then ready and transition to go back to whatever you're doing normally. We want to avoid fainting and dizziness, and provide the body with that smooth transition from exercise back to a steady state of rest. We also want to avoid injuries. If you're going from dancing just straight back to your normal everyday, that's not going to help. We need to gradually decrease all of these levels and rates to make sure that we don't get injured. Okay, so this is a quick activity. You can jump up and do this if you want, but you want to try and find and work out a stretch for every single muscle in the body. It might be that there are some specific muscles that you don't even know how to stretch. So that would definitely be worth researching to make sure that you can stretch all of these muscles. So we've got the upper neck, so that trapezius muscle. We've got the arms, both the back and the front, so the bicep and the tricep muscle. We've got the hamstrings at the back of the leg. We've got the quadriceps at the front of the leg, and we've got your gastrocnemius at the back of your leg or your calf. Okay, let's move on to nutrition. So a dancer's diet. You need to know the food examples for each food group. So I've put the Eat Well guide in the corner there, and it's also in your planners. So have a look at that if you want to. But we need to know the different food groups and their function for a balanced diet. We also need to understand why this is important for a dancer. Okay, identify at least 3 examples of food groups for each category. So we have carbohydrates, proteins, fats, dairy, vitamins and minerals. These are the 5 food groups. Just pause the video or just have a quick think of particular foods which you can slot into each category. Okay, here are some examples. So if you've got carbohydrates, we're thinking the bread, proteins, rice, pastas. I just said proteins. Potatoes, I meant, sorry. Proteins, moving on to chicken, fish, egg, spinach. Fats, we've got the cake, the chocolates or oil. Dairy is cheese, milk and yogurt, and vitamins and minerals we talk about oranges, apples and water. There are obviously lots of different foods that will go into these categories. Just make sure you have maybe 2 strong examples of foods from each category. Okay, so this is the healthy eating plate. So if you can see there, the yellow portion is the carbohydrate portion. Then moving on to the green portion, that's the fruit and vegetable portion. So you can see that those are pretty much equal portions of your plate. And then the pink at the bottom there, we have the protein. The blue is the dairy, and the purple is the fats. So 33% and 33% is carbohydrates equal to fruit and veg or vitamins and minerals. Then we have the 12% protein, 15% fat, and then we have the oil and spreads. Okay, so have a think. Do you know how many calories the average man and woman should have a day? Is 2,500 for a man and 2,000 for a woman. Okay, so what are the function of these food groups? What do they provide? So carbohydrates provide energy. So absolutely essential for dancers because we need energy to perform, to do dancing. So carbohydrates provide energy. Fats provides energy and insulation, often stored under the skin. Proteins required for growth and repair. Vitamins help in the formation of bodily tissues, so hair, teeth, skin, nails. Minerals essential for the uptake of vitamins. Fibres required for digestive systems, and water required for bodily functions. Why is nutrition important for a dancer? So to enable a dancer to continually perform to their best ability, proper nutrition is required. So they need to be eating the right things. Energy comes from food that you eat, therefore as a dancer it is important to eat carbohydrates as they are our main source of energy. Protein is an important part of a dancer's diet as well because it allows growth and repair of muscles. So on the board here I've got some example exam questions. I would like you to copy these exam questions out into your book and have a go at answering them. They're only short, so we've got a 2 marker, 1 marker, 4 mark and a 1 mark. So have a go at answering these questions, please. Okay, moving on to hydration. What do you need to know? We need to understand the function of water, so what it does. We've briefly gone through that a bit in nutrition, and understand the importance of water for a dancer. Okay, so why is hydration important for a dancer? Prevents the body overheating, replaces water lost from the body. So when we're dancing, we're obviously sweating, that's water from the body leaving us. So we need to replenish that water. So that's why we constantly need to intake water to stay hydrated. What percentage of the body is made up of water? Fun fact, 50 to 70%. What is the recommended daily water intake for an average person? Approximately 2 litres or 8 glasses of water. So if you think about that, that is probably more than what we're having at the moment. You need to increase the amount of water that you are drinking. Okay, so again, I've got some example exam questions. So please write these out and please attempt these exam questions. It's going to be really good practice to get you in the process of answering these short answer questions. Okay, we have just covered preparation for performance. So that's the warming up done, cooling down done, nutrition and hydration both done. So we are now going to move on to safe practice during performance. So we're going to touch on safe execution and appropriate dancewear. Okay, so what does it mean to have safe practice when you're dancing? What is safe execution? Have a think about how these dancers are being safe. Look at the whole pictures. What are they doing and what about it makes it safe? Okay, so let's go through a couple of examples. So, safe execution when landing after elevation. So, an example that you would provide if you're jumping and you want to land, what is going to be safe about that? So, you need to think about bending the knees when you land to avoid jolting on the joints. If you were to land with straight legs, you can imagine the joints would have a higher amount of impact, whereas if you're bending your knees, softening into the floor, it's going to reduce the impact. Similarly, you would want to work through the feet, so not landing flat-footed, you would want to work through the ball of the feet and then into the heel. So working with others, that is about being spatially aware. That's about being sensitive to other dancers. Supporting lifting and weight sharing, that is about being smart when it comes to contact, so being safe when you are handling other people's weight. And performing a plie, you might talk about bending those knees, making sure that you've got the correct posture and alignment. Let's go through these in a bit more detail. So we've got a little video there. So if you can watch it, it's quite fast, but basically landing after elevation, you want to bend your knees, you want to land through your feet, and you want to use your core strength. So you're holding your core to control the landing. And this is, of course, all with the mindset that we are trying not to get injured and we are trying to be safe. Working with others. So again, that's sensitivity to other dancers, spatial awareness. Supporting lifting and weight sharing. If you have a look at that picture, we can see that there is kind of a center line of gravity. He is leaning away and the other person has a strong base of support. So they are sharing that weight evenly. They're supported through a strong connection. So that strong connection would be his foot on the thigh and then they're even contact with the holding hands. You do not lift with joint connection. So I'm not going to lift someone up from their neck, for example, because that is through a joint and that can easily be dislocated and that will cause injury. It's all about sharing the weight. It's not about lifting through a joint. Of course, bending your knees to support the other person. Okay, performing a plie. So this is not quite a plie, this picture, but it is a squat, but it's going to give us kind of an idea. So the alignment, one of our physical skills. So it's making sure that, as you can see there, that the knees are in line with the feet, and then the knees are not bowing inwards or they're not going too far outwards, that they are in line with that plumb line going down. And then you can see posture there. So that's the way the body is held, another one of our physical skills. So poor posture can result in injury. So making sure that your spine is in line, your chin is up to perform the plie so that you're not going to injure yourself. How do we treat injuries? We have a little trick for this, a little thing we can remember. It is priced, and we're going to go through that now. So what does priced mean? So the P is protect. Your first objective is to protect the injury from any further damage. So if someone's fallen over, for example, with an, I don't know, pain in their ankle, you're not going to ask them to get up and walk over to a chair. They need to stay where they are in case walking on it would cause further injury. R is for rest, so you want to make sure that you are resting the injury, so you are not weight bearing to prevent any further damage and allow the injury to begin to heal as soon as possible. You want to apply ice as soon as possible. This reduces inflammation and decreases discomfort and pain. Compression, so you can apply a bit of pressure or compression through a bandage and this helps to reduce the swelling. Elevation, so elevating the injury allows gravity to drain some of the swelling. And D, the D for priced is diagnosis or doctor, because you want to seek help from a professional who is going to give you an idea of how you can treat this injury. Safe execution. So still on this safe execution, it's quite a hefty topic. So let's look at a dance studio now. So what does the ideal dance studio look like? Just picture that in your brain. What are you seeing? And what potential hazards could there be in a dance studio? So if we look at these images, there's quite a variation. So if we go to the top right here, we've got a corridor that is cluttered with dance bags. So of course we would always want to clear the space, making sure that all bags are to the side, all personal items are to the side. If we look at the top left, we can see that the floor is uneven, that there's wires in the way, there's boxes in the way. We also wouldn't want spillages of water, again, bags in the way, things on the floor. These are all things we need to consider before we start dancing in a space. So into categories, we have ventilation. So is there enough air? Is it hot and stuffy? Yeah, so think about, have you got access to air conditioning, or can you open a window? Is there sufficient ventilation? Lighting, obviously you want to be able to see where you're dancing, so you need to have sufficient lighting. Floor surface, you don't want water on the floor, you don't want an uneven floor. Ideally you'd like a sprung floor to make the dancing more comfortable and less likely to cause injury. Obstructions, yeah, so you don't want wires, you don't want personal items, bags in the way. And then we're on to safe dance equipment. So like in that picture, making sure the ballet bars are safe if you're using them, or using mats, for example, if you're doing a difficult trick where you might fall, or you need extra padding underneath you. Appropriate dance wear. So what is a dancer wearing? What do you turn up to dance class in? What is the best thing possible that you could be wearing for a dance class? Okay, so let's just analyse who is dressed more appropriately. So we're obviously thinking that B is more appropriate because she's in clearly some breathable material, some top and leggings that is suitable for physical activity. She has her hair up, we can't see any jewellery. She's in appropriate shoes, you can't really see them, but she's in white trainers if it was to be a street class, for example. Whereas the person on the left, person A, is in skinny jeans, they have jewellery on, they have a bag, they have their hair down, and they're not appropriate dance top for dancing in either. Okay, so why is it important to wear appropriate clothing for dance? So the tight-fitting fabrics helps the audience or helps the dance teacher to see the lines of the dancer. If you're in baggy material, it could get caught and it doesn't allow us to see the movement. Stretchy fabric, so that's what I was kind of saying about the appropriate fabric. It's breathable, it's stretchy, it's meant for physical activity, and it helps the dancer move more easily. Hair tied back so the dancer can see. You also don't want to get caught in if another person's hand is out or something. You want it tied back so it's out of the way. No jewellery, no zips, no buckles that could catch on something. And you don't want any slippery footwear or socks on if it's not appropriate, because you could fall. Okay, so we're kind of forming some extended sentences to answer these short answer questions. So if we look at the top line, a dancer should wear tight-fitting clothing because this helps the audience to see the lines. So we have two parts that are interchangeable there. We have the yellow part, you can substitute anything in there, and then the red part, making sure that those two link together. Here are some more examples of some exam questions. I would like you to write these out and try to respond to these exam questions, please. Okay, that is everything. I know that was quite a long learning video and there is a lot covered in there, and I did whiz through it. If there is anything you need or any questions, or you want me to go back over something, please email me. And make sure you're checking out our YouTube page, where we'll have lots of other videos going up. There are some practical videos up at the moment if you want to take part in a class or anything. Thanks guys, and have a nice rest of your day.